Hello everyone, Kristina Werner here. Welcome to another walkthrough video for a new release at Concord9th.com with my line. So this video is going to be going over everything in the September 2025 release. This is the first holiday release for 2025. I'm actually going to have two holiday releases this year, just like last year. So September and also October. So we actually have another release of holiday products coming up in a month. But for September, I'm going to do what I've done in the past and walk you through all of the products in the release and show you some cards I made with them. And on a lot of the cards, I've kind of mixed the products together, so you might see a few cards multiple times when I talk about each of the different individual products. So let's jump into it. In the September 2025 release, I have quite a few products that have this winter greenery imagery on it. The first bundle is the winter greenery bundle, and it is the individual little images. So you've got 2 poinsettias and some different stems, plus quite a few of these greetings you can use on your cards. So you'll notice on the stamp set that I have labeled each one of the images. There's medium poinsettia, large poinsettia, and then stems 1 through 4. And that's because I have a matching stencil set that will help you ink up all of these images. And just to make it easier, and so there's no questions at all, I've labeled the individual areas on the stencil, and I'll show you that when we get to it. So you've got all 6 of these images plus the greetings, and those have coordinating dies that cut them out with the winter greenery dies. Everything is cut out, including the greetings, plus I had a little extra space on the dies, so I included joy, love, and peace as really small little intricate dies. When it comes to the stencil pack, you can see how it aids you in coloring each one of those images. And I thought I'd show you. There's 3 stencils in the pack, and I've used this one, so it's a little bit messy, but you can see how there's etching on it to aid you so you know which image you're going to be working with. And they're also labeled. So right up here it says stem, let's see, stem 2. And then over here we've got medium poinsettia. You've got all of the images you need for that. And then down here, stem 1. And then the largest poinsettia has its own stencil. So large poinsettia. So all 3 of these stencils will help you in inking up all of the images in the winter greenery 6x8 stamp set. So let's look at some cards that I made using this bundle in particular. First up is this card where I not only inked up each of the individual elements with the stencils, but then I used the coordinating dies to cut them out and then put them on top of each other on this card, making my own arrangement. And then I was able to stamp a greeting up there at the top. To keep it really simple on this next card, I only used one of the images, just this one little stem. Then I cut out some little strips of cardstock using my Easy Strips die, and then paired it with a die cut greeting. And this third card was a lot of fun to create. I did a faux dip die effect with some watercolor, and I stamped and heat embossed 3 of those images from the winter greenery stamp set down at the bottom. And then I used those 3 words from the die set. So this is the winter greenery bundle. Now there is another winter greenery product in the release, and that is a background, and that combines all of these images into one background stamp for ease of use. So make sure you check out that product as well. The winter greenery background bundle came about because I designed the winter greenery stamp set with the individual poinsettias and stems, and then I decided that, you know what, I would really love to ink up an entire arrangement of these of this foliage, and I don't want to have to mask. I want to do it all together. So I thought it would be worth it to introduce a background stamp to make it just super easy to do that. And just something to note, the images on the background stamp are the exact same size as the images on the big stamp set. So if you wanted to stamp this large background and then pop up some of the individual flowers, you could use the other stamp set to do that as well. So it's just another way of using the imagery. So if you're going to be making a lot of holiday cards this coming up season, and maybe you want to vary the kind of types of cards you make, you might choose to use a background and the individual images in the other stamp set. So in this bundle, I've also included some dies. Now, I debated whether we needed a die for this background and then decided that we absolutely did, because I wanted to have this kind of like organic edge cut out. I thought it would look really, really nice to have that edge cut. So that's why I've included it. But because I only needed it for needed the one die for this background, I decided to fill in all those gaps on the dies with some additional gradings. So instead of just having a separate set of dies for these gradings, you're going to get the outer edge of the background as well. We have a Merry and Bright, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Warm Wishes, and Merry Christmas or Merry Xmas. You can see how everything cuts out on the back of the packaging. Now, it wouldn't be a complete bundle for this outline image if we didn't have a stencil pack to color everything in. So this actually is a set of 5 stencils, and you can see how you can use the stencils to color in all of the areas on the background stamp. So everything works really well, lines up perfectly once you've stamped your background stamp, and it was a lot of fun to create with. So let's look at some cards I made using this bundle of products. First up is this card where I stamped the background twice, ink blended it using the stencils, and then die cut them. And then I cut them out and I had it kind of hanging off the edge. And there's actually quite a bit of these images left over. So if I wanted to, this was right here, I think, yep, right there, I can use this on a separate card. But I wanted to show you how you could combine the 2 images on a 5x7 card and have them kind of meet in the middle a little bit. It's a lot of fun. The stencils really aid you in getting some really intricate ink blending on the poinsettias, because the poinsettias are ink blended in 2 steps. So it gives you the opportunity to do some lighter areas and some darker areas. It's really a lot of fun. So there's that first card. Next up, I did another card with ink blending, but on a solid colored background. So this is on some ballet slipper cardstock. And I used some lovely pink inks up here. I think I used, gosh, what was that? I think I used watermelon and plumberry. Actually, watermelon, plumberry, and wildberry to do all of this inking right up here. And then the leaves are done with juniper. So a lot of fun with that card. For my third card using the Winter Greenery background, I decided to do some painting. This was one of the reasons why I wanted it as a background stamp, so that I could color in the images really easily. So here's that background stamp on some watercolor paper, and then I used Concord 9th inks for all of the painting. So for the poinsettias down here, I believe I used poppy, cranberry, and plumberry for the poinsettias, and then the leaves are juniper and rainforest, and then these berries right here are in poppy. So this is the Winter Greenery background bundle. Once again, this is the same imagery that's in the Winter Greenery stamp set, but in this case, it's all together as one background. I just really loved the idea of having everything all together for the background stamp, just to make it super easy to use. I think this is really versatile this way. So this is the background dies, and the background stencil pack. The Deco Star Easy Repeat background stamp is something that I've been wanting to create for quite some time. This is actually a little bit smaller than 6x6, but I designed it in such a way so that you could easily repeat this large background stamp. Just repeat it up here at the top, or you can repeat it over to the side. So you can really extend this background stamp out in all directions. This really is great for 5x7 cards, or even if you wanted to do some wrapping paper, something like that. So I'm going to show you some cards, a couple of them where I did not repeat it, and then I'm going to show you on a 5x7 card. This first card is just showing how you could use it coming in off the edge of a 4¼ by 5½ inch card. So this is an A2 card, and I've done a little bit of multicolor stamping. I inked up my stamp with poppy, and then I inked it up with some juniper and then some rainforest and stamped it 3 times for all 3 colors. So it's a lot of fun to use a big background stamp like this. For this next card, I wanted to show how you could have the stamp hanging off the bottom and also in a metallic embossing powder. It really does lend itself to that Art Deco feel of the design. So I made a Hanukkah card on this one. And then for this final example, this is a 5x7 card, and I actually only had to repeat the stamp. I only had to stamp it twice. So I started at the bottom of my card, and then I moved the stamp up and did the top half. So you only have to stamp it twice to fill an entire 5x7 card base. But if you wanted to have your background go out in all these different directions, or stamp a whole sheet of 8½ by 11 cardstock all at once and then cut it down into quarters for 4 card fronts, you definitely could do that, and it would probably save you quite a bit of time too if you're making a lot of cards. So here's this one with that Deco Star Easy Repeat background stamp. The Deco Star Easy Repeat background stamp is such a versatile stamp, and if you love the idea of these easy repeat backgrounds, don't worry, I have more coming out in future releases. The Joyful and Merry bundle includes the 4x6 stamp set as well as the coordinating dies. And the idea behind this stamp set and dies was I wanted to be able to stamp larger greetings like the Joyful and Merry, cut them out with a little bit of a border, but then I also wanted to be able to cut out the individual greetings themselves. So as you can see on the back of the dies, there's some examples of how you can kind of combine the stamps and the dies together to create different looks with your different greetings. So let's look at some cards I made using this stamp and die bundle. First up, you're going to see a card that you probably saw with the Deco Star Easy Repeat background. That's what's in the background here, but I wanted to show you, this is an example of the stamped greeting onto some juniper cardstock, and then I die cut it using the dies. And then here's an example of the die cut greeting paired with the Hanukkah wishes, so Joyful Hanukkah wishes. And I've just stacked that Joyful a few times, the silver on top of white. And then that same Joyful, here's an example of the Joyful stamped and then die cut. So you can use those same dies for the stamps and also the individual die cut greeting. So it pairs really, really well. So for this fourth card, I paired 2 of the individual greeting stamps with a stacked die cut right there in the middle. I think it looks really, really neat on this card. Now I did want to mention that in the die set, I also included these 2 long strip dies right here, and they will aid you in cutting out all the individual greetings here. So you can use the wider die for the 2 lined greetings, and then this more narrow die for just the individual words that are on one line. So once again, the Joyful and Merry bundle includes a 4x6 stamp set with greetings and the dies that coordinate. The Holiday Icon Stencil Pack includes 6 stencils that you can layer up to create a full design. You can kind of get an idea of what it looks like right here. But let's look at the back of the packaging so you can get a better idea of how all of these stencils combine to create a really fun, almost looks like a stained glass effect, with all of these holiday icon images. So let's take a look at the stencils themselves. Like I said, there are 6 stencils in the set. The first stencil is the entire design by itself. It's sized 6x9, so you can actually get 2 card fronts, 2 A2 card fronts out of 1 stenciling, and I'll show you how I did that here in a moment. The other 5 stencils can be stacked together to create the background and then all the individual images. So let's take a look at some cards that I made using the Holiday Icons Stencil Pack. First up is a set of cards that I made. You can see they were inked together and then I cut it apart. So I got 2 cards for the price of 1 basically. And all I did was stencil the background, ink blending from more intense colors down to more light colors at the bottom. So this is Tide Pool, Juniper, and then a little bit of Midnight up here at the top to create that nice gradient blend. For this card, I used some more traditional Christmas colors with a blue background. So I used Harbor in the background, and then I've got Poppy, Cranberry, Parsley, and Evergreen. Kind of similar colors on this card, except I wanted to change up the greens. So instead of using Parsley and Evergreen, instead I used a Rainforest background, and then I used Juniper and Tide Pool for the other 2 green shades. For a little bit of a different look on this card, I did the background as well as one of the greens in the same color. I used evergreen for the background as well as, on the tree and on the leaves and things like that. So this card design really reads with a lot of green. I wanted to do it that way so that I could have a pop of red and not have it be overwhelming with lots and lots of red or any other color. So I think that looks really, really neat. This is a stencil that could look really, really neat with glitter paste or even putting some Versamark or an embossing ink over the top of one of the colors and then adding clear embossing powder. I think you could have a lot of fun with these. Now, on all of my examples, I didn't do a ton of variation in ink color. I did over here on the gradient, but over here, these are just flat colors through the stencil. But you can get really creative and do some like colorful blends, like maybe have the background be one color and blend up to another and then have other colors on top. You can get really creative with this. So once again, this is the Holiday Icons Stencil Pack, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So this is the Kristina Werner with Concord 9th September 2025 release. A lot of fun holiday products coming out this month, and I know you'll enjoy them all. Everything is available now at concord9th.com. And thanks so much for joining me. Just kind of on a side note, this marks 1 year since I've been collaborating with Concord 9th for these product releases. And it's been a ton of fun. It's been a lot of fun this entire year, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing all the products that I've dreamed up over the last year. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.